All right, so this is going on in Tucson, Arizona. You notice I have a shirt that's from Tucson, Arizona, the Extinction Rebellion over at Tucson, Arizona. They recently passed an ordinance that infringed on citizens' rights to film police, which great timing. Great timing. Amidst everything that's going on, Tucson was like, I know how we can make this worse. You can't film cops anymore. Well, there has been such a backlash about this, including, I believe, let's see here. There's been such a backlash about this. Ice Cube was among the people tweeting about it. And there's been such a backlash that the city had to respond to this. So Tucson, Arizona, they made this ordinance that you couldn't film cops anymore, or there's restrictions as to when you can film cops. And this received such backlash that they had to respond. And here's what they had to say. All right, so city leaders explain ordinance after online backlash. Here's their explanation. So amid heightened police scrutiny, the ordinance recently came under fire. A Tucson ordinance is at the center of a social media frenzy. The ordinance makes it illegal to film police scenes under certain circumstances. So in a tweet last week, the RD Marxists claimed the Tucson City Council passed an ordinance making it illegal for citizens to film Tucson police. And Tucson Mayor Regina Romero was quick to chime in, saying, "That's misinformation." She included a link to the ordinance. Ice Cube tweeted, "Please make sure it's pro-people and not pro-law enforcement. Y'all should have an emergency meeting to make sure you're satisfying the great citizens of Tucson and surrounding areas. I love it there, and I'd hate to miss it." Okay, so here's what the actual policy is. Hold on, So here's what they're saying. This has zero to do with the current protest. It was put in place long before any of this was envisioned. This was put into place because there is a small group of people who were interfering with legitimate Tucson Police Department work. Doing so, they were putting not only their lives in safety, but those of the officer. All right, so here's the ordinance itself. Sorry, I had a hard time scrolling for it there. Here's what the ordinance states. Police officers or community service officers conducting law enforcement activity, investigations, and other police-related activities may restrict individuals from physically entering crime scenes or areas immediately surrounding where such enforcement activity, investigations, and other police-related activities are taking place. Guess what, Mayor Romero? Guess what, Tucson City Council? Not good enough. You want to sum that up real quick? Not freaking good enough. First of all, police officers or community service officers conducting enforcement activity. Let's stop right there. What that means, what does that mean? That could mean anything. Conducting enforcement activity. That could be anything from investigating a murder scene to brutalizing a peaceful protester. That's, quote, considered enforcement activity. That's why we need to defund the police and completely reinvent what it means to have police in our lives. But that's a different story for a different day. We've been talking about that a lot. Investigation and other police-related activities may restrict individuals from physically entering crime scenes. Guess what? They already restrict individuals from entering crime scenes. You see that all the time. They block off crime scenes. Hey, a murder took place here. We don't want to mess with any of the evidence, so we're blocking this off. And guess what? The public can't enter. Why is this ordinance necessary? That already exists. You can't just walk around a murder scene like derp, derp, derp. You can't do that. That's blocked off. Now, if you want to stand where the caution tape is and film, why is that a problem? Why can't people do that? Investigations or other police-related activities. Again, this is very vague. Other police-related activities. That could be anything. So basically, this ordinance, even though it doesn't directly state the verbiage, people cannot film cops, this allows a police officer to stop you from filming them at any time. And that does nothing to make a community more safe. You know, I think it was Will Smith who tweeted it out. Racism in law enforcement isn't anything new. They're just catching it on film now. This has been going on for generations. And it's been going on for a large number of reasons. Systemic racism in our society, in our world. It's been going on because organizations like the KKK and neo-Nazis decided decades ago that they were going to put on suits and infiltrate different systems, i.e. law enforcement, and become cops. That's been going on for decades and decades now, and nothing's been done about it. We know about it. We know about it. We know that there's KKK members with badges and guns. You think they became cops because they want to serve and protect? No, they became cops because they want to brutalize black people and people of color. That's what they want. And now Tucson's saying, well, you can't film. You can't film police officers. And yes, that is what this ordinance does. And now they're trying to put a bow on a turd, and we can't let them do it. This ordinance needs to go. No exception. How is any of this necessary? Because it's so vague, they can just stop you from filming them at any time. They're like, oh, no, it's only in certain circumstances. What circumstances? Enforcement activity or, other police-related activities. So you mean anything? Yeah. Yeah, basically anything. You just can't film them at all. That's really what we're saying. And now they're saying, well, there have been 0 citations or arrests made under this ordinance since it was adopted in April. Well, give it time. Give it time. If no one's enforcing this ordinance, then it shouldn't exist. Because there's a lot of red flags here. So if you're saying like no one's needed to enforce it, then guess what? Mayor and city council, it doesn't need to exist. Get rid of this ordinance. There's no reason for it. And all it's doing is trying to help. It's just trying to help horrible activity from law enforcement. It's trying to give shield to law enforcement conducting brutality. That's all it's doing. There's no reason for it. And it's way too vague. You already can't enter a crime scene. There is no reason for this ordinance. There's no reason for anything resembling this ordinance ever, period. So guess what, Mayor Ramiro? Not good enough. Not good enough. All right. So that's a follow-up on what's going on in Tucson, Arizona.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting